There is a lot of talk lately in the liberal media about how President Trump and his neocon advisors John Bolton, National Security Advisor, and Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, along with his acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan, are moving the country and the world dangerously closer to a catastrophic global nuclear war with the administration decision to terminate the Reagan-era treaty banning intermediate-range nuclear missiles. It is true that the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, concluded by President Ronald Reagan and Russian President Mikhail Gorbachev in 1987, did greatly reduce the chances of nuclear war by removing U.S. missiles from Europe and Asia that had the ability to strike the Soviet Union in minutes. It's also true that with the INF gone, Russia will, as it is already doing, inevitably develop countermeasures, such as designing and deploying fleets of quick-launch, virtually unstoppable hypersonic cruise missiles that could head towards the U.S. before attacked, assuring the destruction of the United States in response to any first strike. What is not true is the notion that it is just Trump who has pushed the nuclear doomsday clock closer to midnight. President Obama advanced that clock's minute hand more than Trump back in 2014 and set the stage for a termination of the INF with his deceptive and outrageously costly program to refurbish and upgrade of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Continued by President Trump, Nobel Peace Laureate Obama's 10-year, $1.3 trillion program began moving the country in entirely the wrong direction, expanding instead of reducing the U.S. nuclear stockpile. As nuclear strategists surely instantly understood, the U.S. program actually represents an abandonment of the mutually assured destruction standoff which, by making nuclear war unthinkable, has successfully prevented any nuclear bombs from being used in war for almost 75 years. Instead, the new U.S. nuclear program moves this country towards a policy of making the use of nukes thinkable. What Obama did, specifically, was to approve the development of the B-61-12, a small nuclear bomb that can have its power dialed up or down anywhere from 0.3 kilotons to 340 kilotons, with the largest setting being an explosion some 15 times more powerful than the bombs that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. While the new bomb was given the same appellation as a U.S. weapon first produced in 1968, which itself was a version of a bomb called the TX-61 first deployed in 1963, and while it has a hyphenated number 12 placed after the B-61 to suggest it is simply the 12th iteration of the weapon, knowledgeable nuclear strategy planning critics say it's actually a new weapon, and that the name given to it is intended to deceive Americans. Not only that, but the new B-61-12 is being designed by Boeing, Pentagon Secretary Shanahan's old employer, specifically for use in the F-35, which makes it all the more dangerous. That is because while the F-35 is properly being branded by its critics as a flying turkey because of the many problems with its cost, its glitch-plagued avionics and even the durability of its airframe, it is good at one thing, and that is the stealth technology that allows it to avoid radar detection. The B-61-12 is designed to fit inside the fuselage of the Air Force's version of the F-35, not under the wings like the old B-61 bombs carried by the F-16 and other nuclear-capable fighter planes, since that would ruin the stealth feature of the F-35, making it a sitting duck for Russian or Chinese anti-aircraft missiles. The F-35's stealth feature, combined with its ability to deliver the B-61-12 bomb, makes the combination of plane and nuke, in the words of military experts familiar with nuclear strategy, a first-strike weapon, one that could be used to initiate a devastating war on an enemy. Advertisement: the B-61-12 with its dialable explosive power, also represents a step towards nuclear war for another reason. In the minds of the crazy bastards who develop nuclear war strategy in the White House and the Pentagon, it renders America's nuclear weapons usable and nuclear war thinkable. The theory behind smaller bombs is that the U.S., which has not got a good track record at winning wars fought by soldiers on the ground, at least since World War II, could fare better if it could introduce nuclear weapons to a conflict, presumably by doing some limited damage and forcing the opponent to rethink any notion of continuing to fight. This kind of crazy and immoral thinking goes by the name of coercive diplomacy, a term coined by the Harvard professor and nuclear strategy theorist Thomas C. Schelling. First developed in the mid-1960s, Schelling's lunatic theory is now being resurrected thanks to Presidents Obama and Trump and psycho national security advisors like Bolton, Pompeo and as Trump is widely quoted as having asked his national security team, "Why do we have nukes if we can't use them?" In quoting him, most U.S. pundits have mocked the notion, but the truth is the U.S., which has never renounced a nuclear first strike and never promised not to use nukes against a non-nuclear adversary, is in the process of building a weapons system, the F-35 and its nuclear payload, the B-61-12, that is premised on the idea of using nuclear weapons either for coercive diplomacy or for a first strike. Next, page 1, 2 Dave Lindorf social media pages. The views expressed herein are the sole responsibility of the author and do not necessarily reflect those of this website or its editors.